Hi, fifth grade, it's Mrs. Feathers. I'm going to go over your grammar practice pages for this week. This week's going to be a little bit different because we have Monday off. So on Tuesday, you're going to have pages 106 to 107 due. Wednesday, pages 108 and 109. And then your grammar quiz will be on Thursday. So your first page, page 106, is looking at complex sentences. So again, a complex sentence contains an independent clause and a dependent clause. Dependent clauses are introduced by subordinating conjunctions, such as while, because, if, and although. Dependent clauses can also be introduced by relative pronouns, such as who, whose, who, which, whom, and that, and relative adverbs, such as where, when, and why. I am actually going to put some highlights on these lists because they are going to be extremely helpful for you on this page. So you're going to want that list, this one, and where, when, and why. On this page, you're going to read each sentence and underline the dependent clause. Then circle the introductory word in that clause. So those words are going to be like one of these that I highlighted. Finally, on the line provided, write whether the introductory word is a subordinating conjunction, a relative pronoun, or a relative adverb. Again, you're going to want to look up here to help you with that part. We're going to do numbers 1 and 2 together. I volunteer at the animal shelter when I have free time. In this sentence, I volunteer at the animal shelter is your independent clause. When I have free time is your dependent clause. So I need to underline my dependent clause and then circle the word that it starts with, which is when. And then I need to identify if when is a subordinating conjunction, relative pronoun, or relative adverb. Using my lists at the top, when is a relative adverb. Let's also do number 2. I help care for pets that are waiting adoption. I help care for pets is independent, that are waiting adoption is dependent. So I'm going to drag a line, identify my dependent clause, and then drag a circle to show the introductory word or the first word in that clause, which is that. Using the lists at the top, that is a relative pronoun. You will finish this page with the same directions. On the next page, you're looking at more complex sentences. So the box at the top reminds us that a dependent clause in a complex sentence can come after an independent clause. A dependent clause in a complex sentence can also come before an independent clause and needs to be separated by a comma. So I'm going to put a little reminder. If you have an ID or independent then dependent clause sentence, no comma is needed. If you have a DI sentence, so you have your dependent clause first, then independent clause, you do need a comma. Let's do an example of each on this page. So we're going to write the word in parentheses to combine the two clauses into one complex sentence, and then write the new sentence on the line provided. So I need to decide if I want to put before at the beginning of my sentence or in the middle? So should I put before I went shopping, I made a list, or I went shopping before I made a list? The first one makes more sense. So because I am putting before at the beginning of my sentence, that is now an dependent clause. So I need to add a comma and then finish with my independent clause. Let's look at number 2. The clauses are I created categories, and then the categories matched the aisles in the store. I need to decide whether I'm putting that at the beginning of this or in the middle. So that I created categories, the categories matched the aisles in the store, or I created categories that the categories matched the aisles in the store. I think the second way makes more sense, and I'm actually going to take out the categories to make this sentence flow better. So you should have I created categories that matched the aisles in the store. Because I put the conjunction in the middle of the sentence, I have my independent clause first, then my dependent, meaning I do not need a comma. Your next page is page 108, and on this page, I'm looking at commas with clauses. So an essential clause is necessary to identify a person, place, or thing that is being described. It is not separated by commas. A non-essential clause is not necessary to the meaning of the sentence. Therefore, commas are not needed to set apart the clause. We're going to read the two clauses and combine them into one sentence and write the sentence on the line provided. Let's look at two of these together. The day was a Saturday that I was born. So I need to combine that into one sentence. I'm going to do so by moving some words around and saying the day that I was born was a Saturday. Now there are multiple ways to do these ones, so you might have a different answer than me. As long as your sentence makes sense and commas are where they are needed, then you have the correct answer. Number 2 says, my parents were well prepared who were living in Chicago. I am going to add who were living in Chicago right after my parents and set it aside by commas. You will have 3 more to do on your own. Your last page is your proofreading page, so the box at the top goes over the rules from the previous pages, and the directions state to proofread the paragraph. On the lines below, correct mistakes in complex sentence construction and comma usage. So the first one says, the original settlers of our town who had arrived by boat came from Holland. So I need to add in some commas here to set aside my non-essential clause, which is who had arrived by boat. So when I retype, I need to add a comma after town, comma after boat. You'll finish going through this paragraph looking for more mistakes. As always, please make sure you're looking back at comments to see if you made any mistakes that need fixed. And that's really important to do before taking your grammar quiz on Thursday. If you have any further questions, reach out to any of the reading teachers and we will be more than happy to help you. Bye, 5th grade.